Hey there, sweetheart. Man, it's really something to hear your voice again. I'll be honest, it wasn't easy tracking down a new number for either of you. So, how's everything been on your end? My mom, Marion, asked quietly. You could tell she was trying to sound casual, but I could hear the nerves and sadness underneath. I took a second to collect myself, choosing to play it safe. New phone, who is this? I said, cutting in. Oh, come on, Ivy. It's me, your mom, she answered, sounding frustrated. I'm sorry it took so long to call, but I figured you'd know your own mother's voice, even after all this time. I gave a small smile. I knew her voice the second she spoke, but given everything, I wasn't about to let my guard down just yet. I had to tread carefully if I wanted to say what needed saying without coming off disrespectful. Hi, Mom, I finally said. You just caught me by surprise, that's all. Gotta be careful these days. Never know who might be on the other end. I paused again, weighing my words, then decided I couldn't just let her say she'd been there for me for 19 years without pushing back, even if I stayed polite. Mom, I don't think the past 4 years count as love or support. I continued, keeping my voice even. I was almost 15 when you left. This is the first time I've heard from you in 4 years. I'm 19 now, and let's be honest, I've been going without a mom for a while. Marion let out a heavy sigh. I know, Ivy. I'm really sorry. Things were just so hard back then. I didn't feel like I had any other option, but I didn't call to rehash the past. She softened her voice. I really just wanted to check in, maybe talk to your brother and sister if they're around. Things are more stable now, and I want to be a part of your lives again. I'm hoping we can reconnect, sweetheart. And I want you to enjoy the kind of life I can offer now, one with a little more comfort. She went on. Glenn and I are married now, and I've got the means to really take care of you kids, Lila, Theo, and you. Life with him is nothing like it was with your dad. Don't get me wrong. Your father's a decent man, but he couldn't give us the things Glenn can. Glenn spoils me every single day, and I'm loving it, she said, her voice full of excitement. Now I want to show you all what living well actually looks like. I want to make up for those rough years, the ones where money was tight and everything felt like a struggle. Maybe this'll help ease some of the guilt I've been carrying. By now, my blood was starting to boil. The anger bubbled up, but I held it in. I loved my dad, Calvin Rhodes, with everything I had. He picked up the pieces after Mom left and never once complained. He was there for me, my 11-year-old sister Lila, and my wild older brother Theo, who was already 22 at the time. I admired Dad more than I could ever say for how he took on so much after she walked away. Right after she left, she cleared out all our accounts and left us in a financial mess I'll never forget. At just 15, I stepped into the role of a makeshift homemaker, doing what I could to help keep our family afloat. For the next 10 months, we powered through as a team, even when it felt like the world was against us. Eventually, things started looking up. Dad made some big changes, and now our life is something I'm truly proud of. It would have been easy to let all the blame fall on her shoulders. After all, she caused a lot of our pain. Back then, my temper was pretty legendary, and I was more than ready to unleash it. But out of nowhere, this strange calm washed over me. I knew exactly how I needed to handle the situation, and it felt almost freeing. If I had gone off on her right then, she probably would have hung up, and that would have been the end of it. No second chances. But deep down, I still wanted a connection, even if she'd messed up in every possible way. So I leaned into that calm and made a choice. I'd tell her the truth, let her know where she went wrong, but I'd also leave the door open for something better. A fresh start. That felt right. And just like that, a big smile crept across my face. It was like a little voice inside me whispered that I'd just figured out something important about life. Excited, I told her how amazing I looked and promised to send a picture from my phone. Don't hang up, I added quickly. I stood in front of the mirror on my closet door, warm June sun pouring through my window. It was around 3 p.m. I smiled wide at my reflection. My wheat blonde hair was pulled up in a stylish twist, and my long lavender gown hugged me just right, showing off how much I'd grown into myself. I had on long white gloves that stopped just above my elbows, giving the whole outfit a classy, grown-up vibe. I snapped a few shots, picked the best one, and sent it over. Did you get it? I asked, impatient. What do you think? There was a long silence. I imagined Mom sitting there, staring at the screen, taking in the young woman I'd become. She sounded choked up when she finally spoke. You're beautiful, she said, her voice shaky. I've missed you so much. I could tell she was wrestling with guilt and awe at the same time. But I kept the moment moving. I told her Lila looked stunning too and headed to my sister's room to see her putting the finishing touches on her look. Lila's thick honey brown hair was styled up, soft curls falling around her face. Her big green eyes and delicate features were something else. Honestly, she looked like she stepped out of a fairy tale. Lila looked absolutely stunning. Her features were soft and angelic, with a cute little upturned nose and that smile with dimples that always lit up her whole face. Like me, she had on an evening gown too, though hers had a simpler kind of elegance that fit her perfectly. Hey, Lila, come on, pose for a pic, I said, circling her to get the best shot. Mom's on the phone, and I want to center you in the frame. Helping her get ready was Camille, this gorgeous woman in her 30s wearing a show-stopping evening dress. She carried herself like royalty. Wherever she went, people noticed. As soon as she saw the phone aimed her way, Camille tried to step out of the shot, but I waved her back in. Nope, Camille, stay right there. I want you in the picture too, I said, not letting her slip away. Lila looked a little caught off guard, but rolled her eyes and grinned, cupping her hands like a megaphone. Hi, ma'am. Can't talk now, but let's catch up soon, she hollered toward the phone. I moved around the room, snapping a bunch of photos of the two of them, then gave the signal we were done. All right, ladies, photo shoot complete. I'll pick the best one to send, I said with a smile. Then I brought the phone back to my ear and added with a playful grin, but you wouldn't recognize Lila now, huh, Mom? I mean, seriously, Lila's even got curves now. Lila blushed hard. Ives, you're such a dork, she mumbled, trying to act annoyed. But she couldn't help smiling, and the other women giggled at her reaction while I focused back on the call. So, what do you think, Mom? For a second, she didn't say anything. Then, finally, Marian spoke, her voice cracking a little. Well, I'm honestly speechless, sweetheart. You two look absolutely breathtaking. You've grown up so beautifully. I'm just so proud of you, and Lila. I wish I could be there with you right now. She kept pulling the phone away to stare at the pictures again, her emotions pouring out. I could tell she missed us deeply. She sniffled and wiped away tears as she studied the photos. But wait, she finally asked, why are you both so dressed up? You're not heading to prom, are you? That was my cue. I'd hooked her curiosity, and now it was time to reel it in. Nope, Mom. It's even bigger than prom, I said, unable to hide the excitement in my voice. Remember that fancy summer gala you always raved about but never got into? The one the Halberts and Kindles throw every year. Marian responded instantly. Of course. That ball was always the most talked about event of the season. I used to dream of going, rubbing shoulders with the elite, dressing to the nines. Man, I would have given anything to be there. She sighed, getting lost in the thought. Wearing a gorgeous gown, walking through those grand halls, surrounded by powerful people, it would have been like a dream. Then reality smacked her. Wait, don't tell me you two are working the event? Hostesses? Servers? Her voice rose, full of shock and disbelief. I mean, wow, that's still amazing. I'm so proud of you girls. Just imagine, my daughter's at the big summer ball, part of high society, even if just behind the scenes. I couldn't help myself. I burst out laughing. No, Mom, we're not working the event. We're invited, I said, dropping the real surprise. We're actual guests. And get this, we're sitting at the main table. Marian went silent. I could almost hear her blinking through the phone. See, it's a surprise for Dad, I continued. He's the guest of honor tonight. The hosts are going to recognize him for everything he's done. And guess what else? I'm part of the ceremony. I'm so nervous I could throw up, but I'm also super excited. Marian sounded like someone had just knocked the wind out of her. What? You've got to be kidding. Stacy, be serious. Your dad? A guest of honor? I mean, come on, he's just a cost control clerk, right? That kind of thing doesn't happen to regular people. I rolled my eyes and played along. Of course, Mom. Lila and I always get dolled up in gowns just to prank you, I said, letting out a dry chuckle. Come on. A lot has changed since you left. I softened my tone a little. Yeah, we were hurting. All of us. Theo included. But somehow, Dad held us together and rebuilt everything from the ground up. You have no idea how far we've come. I checked my watch. I should probably fill you in before we have to go. The car gonna be back with Ellen and Theo in about 10 minutes. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the next part. Dad was devastated after what he discovered about you and that other man. You disappeared right after he found out. Honestly, I think you were already planning to leave. He just caught you earlier than expected. Before I could go on, she cut in, her voice quiet. I'm sorry, Ivy. I didn't realize you knew about all that between me and your father. She paused, then added, yeah, after he confronted me, I figured there was no point in sticking around. He had the photos and everything. Glenn and I packed up and left town. We've been living in his Fairmont place ever since. Then she said something that pushed my buttons. Ivy, I'm really sorry your dad dragged you into all this. He never should have involved you kids. That was it. I snapped. That's complete unfair, Mom. I shouted, stopping my foot without meaning to. But I forced myself to take a couple of calming breaths and pushed forward, steadying my voice. Dad didn't tell us a thing. I'm the one who showed him. I paused, letting that sink in. Who do you think helped him see the truth, huh? I asked quietly. Yeah, Mom, it was me. I could still remember it clearly. That day, Lila and I came home early. Everything was weirdly quiet, except for these strange noises from your room. I told Lila to stay downstairs while I crept up to see what was going on. And when I saw what I saw, I took out my phone, snapped the photos, and sent them to Dad. Right then and there. After that, Lila and I went out to hang with some friends for a while. When we got back later that evening, you were locked away in your room crying. And by the next morning, you were just gone. So yeah, the last memory I have of my so-called loving mother? You caught in a situation with that much older man, in Dad's room. Honestly, Mom, how is a teenager supposed to forget something like that? I'm just glad it didn't get any more scarring than it already was. Marion's voice shot through the phone, all wounded and indignant. I can't believe you betrayed me, Ivy. How could you do that to me? I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. Seriously, Mom? Is this really the time to start slinging accusations about betrayal? Because if we go down that road, I've got a fire hose and you're holding a leaky water pistol. You really want to go there? I took a breath, trying to stay steady. Besides, if we open that can of worms, Lila and Theo might have a thing or two to say about you. Then I asked, so, are we going to talk about what's happened these past 4 years or not? Even while I was saying all this, I was honestly surprised at how calm and clear-headed I was being. I didn't yell. I didn't sob. I just laid it out. And in that moment, I realized something big. I'd grown up. I wasn't that angry teenager anymore. I was someone who could face this stuff head-on without losing it. On the other end of the line, Mom must have realized the same thing. She sounded different all of a sudden, like she understood this wasn't going to be fixed with a few presents and a half-hearted apology. She couldn't just drop in now and expect to play the role of Mom again like nothing had happened. If she truly wanted to rebuild something with us, she'd have to own up to what she did and sit through all the emotions that came with it. It wasn't going to be easy. She'd either face the storm or lose us for good. Then her voice came through again, quieter this time, almost trembling. You're right, Ivy. We probably do need to sit down and have a real talk about all of this. But, for now, can we at least try to reconnect? Talking like this is a start, isn't it? I really do want to know how your lives have turned out since I left. That part caught me off guard, in a good way. I smiled a little, then dove right in. Mom, you're not gonna believe it. It's been a ride. Like something out of a novel or a fairy tale, really. When you first left, things got pretty rough. Dad was a mess. For months, every time Lila and I came home from school, I'd have her wait outside while I walked in first. I was afraid of what I might find. Every phone call made me jump, thinking it'd be the cops, or the hospital, or worse. I swallowed and went on. I tried to talk Theo into getting his act together. He was drinking a lot, partying like crazy. I told him I couldn't hold this family together by myself. He tried, I think. But it wasn't easy for any of us. Then one day, Dad started reading books on heartbreak, grief, healing. At night, he'd stay in his room typing for hours. We could hear the clack of the keys from down the hall. I think writing helped him get through the worst of it. Oh, and Mom, you remember how out of shape Dad used to be? Well, that man started getting up early, going on runs, dusted off the treadmill and those old weights you used to hate. Little by little, he pulled himself together. You could tell he was fighting to feel alive again. I paused a second, then said gently, I know you probably don't want to hear all this stuff about Dad, but it matters. It's part of our story. And, just so you know, he actually looks kinda hot now. I couldn't help but laugh a little. I knew she could hear the smile in my voice. Marion responded, and to my surprise, she didn't snap back. No, it's okay, honey. I needed to hear this. Thank you for being honest with me. I really do want to know how things are going with you, and with Lila and Theo. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Well, Lila took it hard. After everything went down, she shut down. It was like she was on autopilot for months, just disconnected. But now, she's nearly back to her old self. A lot of that's because of Camille. That caught Mom's attention. I could practically hear her zooming in on the picture on her phone, trying to figure out who Camille was. Wait, who's Camille? She asked, confused. Oh, sorry, Mom. That's Dad's girlfriend. She's amazing. Like, stunning, yeah, but also really kind. Used to be a swimsuit model. Still does some modeling work here and there. And more than that, she helped Lila find herself again. Now Lila's getting into modeling too, and Camille has been mentoring her the whole way. Then it hit me. Oh, Mom, you've got to grab last month's Youth Style monthly magazine. Lila's on the cover. Like, full-on cover model. She looks absolutely incredible. She's becoming kind of a big deal. There was a long pause on the other end. Then Mom lost it. Are you serious? First your father goes off with someone half his age, and now that woman is introducing your sister to modeling. Her voice cracked with outrage. I'll bring charges. Against both your dad and this Camet, or whatever her name is. She was so worked up I thought she might choke. I didn't answer Mom right away. I figured it was better to let her cool down a bit before I jumped back in. Then, when I did speak, I kept my voice soft to make sure she really heard me. Mom, look. Dad and Camille are super careful. They don't mess around when it comes to Lila's modeling or mine. One of them is always with us during shoots, and every photographer has to sign a detailed contract with Dad. Nothing gets shot without his okay. And you honestly think he'd allow anything even slightly inappropriate? He won't even let Lila wear a swimsuit, for crying out loud. And just to clear the air, her name's Camille. She's 32. That's only a 10-year gap between her and Dad. Which, let's be real, is a lot less than between you and Glenn. What is he now, like, 100? I smirked. Anyway, I don't know if they'll ever tie the knot, but from what I see, they work really well together. She's been there for him, Mom. He looks genuinely happy. I've never seen him like this before. That last bit must have struck a nerve because she suddenly snapped. Glenn's only 70, not as ancient as you're making him sound. Ivy. Her tone was sharp. Still, I just don't know if modeling is the right thing for Lila. She should be focused on something with more depth. I bit the inside of my cheek to stop myself from blurting something rude. I turned away from my phone, took a deep breath to get my head straight, then came back to the conversation. Modeling's been great for Lila, Mom. She's more confident, way more self-assured. You remember how shy she used to be? Always nervous, always second-guessing herself? Well, not anymore. She's starting to realize who she is and what she's capable of. She's even starting to lead her own shoots, throwing out theme ideas, directing the vibe. And let's be real here, school was never her strong suit. She always thought she was a failure, like she'd never amount to anything. But now she's on the rise, possibly headed for the top of the fashion world, and she hasn't even graduated yet. Her bank account's already more impressive than mine. I hesitated for a second, then added, and yeah, I do a little modeling too. But it's more of a side thing for me, it's not my passion. Lila and I often walk shows together, but I'm more of a support act. I help balance the outfits and keep the energy going. The best part? We've gotten really close through it. We're a team. And the money I make? It's going straight into my college savings. Don't worry, I haven't given up on school. I'm still doing great academically. In fact, I'm taking extra classes to graduate early. My grades are above average, even though some subjects are very difficult this year. I have to study hard. It's very important for getting into college. I chuckled, suddenly remembering something. Oh, and get this, Mom, Lila and I get to keep some of the clothes from our shoots. My closet looks insane now. I used to be the dorky one at school, and now girls are asking me for fashion tips and, no joke, even autographs. Isn't that wild? I laughed again. I guess I'm almost popular? And yeah, boys are finally noticing me too. It's weird, kind of gross, but also kind of fun. I could feel the shift on the other end of the line. All this news clearly didn't sit well with Mom. She'd always chased some form of recognition, hoping to be admired by people who barely knew her. But here we were, Dad, Lila, and even I, finding success in our own ways, and none of it had come from her. She let out a long, heavy sigh. Well, I'm glad things are working out for you girls. Really? Then, almost cautiously, she asked, though I hate to bring it up, how's Theo? Is he doing all right? I glanced at the clock. Theo and Ellen would be back any minute now. I didn't want to rush, but I also knew I had to get to the point. I took a deep breath. Actually, you might be surprised, Theo turned things around. You remember how he was even before you left, wild, partying all the time. After you were gone, it got worse. He drank more, stayed out all night with his friends. Total spiral. Eventually, Dad hit a breaking point. He told Theo to either find a job or go back to school. Well, Theo wasn't exactly respectful about it. He blew up at Dad, and Dad ended up kicking him out. Told him not to come back until he got his act together. It got so bad, Dad even had to call the cops a couple times to get him to leave. Mom gasped. What? Your father threw Theo out? I cannot believe this. That man has the nerve. Oh, come on, Mom. I cut in, with a dry laugh. Good luck with that lawsuit idea. We both know you've always given Theo a free pass. You were forever slipping him money, no questions asked, no accountability. The truth stung, but I said it anyway. He's lucky he didn't end up in jail. That all went down about 2 ago. Since then, things have changed. He couch-surfed with friends for a while, but even they got tired of him mooching. Eventually, he ended up on the streets for a bit. That's when reality hit him. He saw how well the rest of us were doing, and he decided he wanted in. One day, he showed up and apologized to Dad, like, genuinely apologized. Told him he wanted to come home. Dad didn't make it easy. He said Theo had to get a job first. So he did, joined a loader's crew. Came back home after that. But even then, Dad said he had to help pay bills. Said it was time he learned what being an adult really meant. I chuckled, thinking of Theo's endless griping. It's actually kind of hilarious now. He whines constantly about how hard loader is and how expensive life is. But Dad just tells him, welcome to the real world, kid. I paused and smiled to myself, then heard Mom's voice again, indignant, tense. Wait, don't tell me. Dad has a new girlfriend? I sighed. Yup, that's Ellen. Ellen. I laughed. No, Mom, she's not Dad's girlfriend. She's his personal assistant. But trust me, she runs the show. She's sharp, snarky, and doesn't take crap from anyone. Dad always calls her his cool boss. Even though she's only 24, she's super competent. They met at a conference in Bellevue. She walked up, shook his hand, and basically told him, if you want your life to actually run smoothly, hire me to handle your travel, bookings, and budgeting. He was so impressed with how direct she was that he hired her on the spot. Now she lives with us, totally professional setup, and Dad jokes all the time that he's living in a harem. It's ridiculous. I laughed again. But honestly, Ellen's been a huge help. She's like a big sister to me, and we all love her. Oh, and she's a total knockout, straight from Denmark. Blonde pixie haircut, icy blue eyes, and super tall, like 5 feet 7 inches with heels. No surprise, poor Theo fell head over heels the minute he met her. But Ellen didn't even flinch. She flat out told him she doesn't date anyone who doesn't have their life together. That made my tone shift a little more serious. And Mom? Here's the big news. Brace yourself. Theo enlisted in the Air Force 5 months ago. Yeah, there was an audible gasp from Mom's side. I know, right? I chuckled, imagining her expression. It's crazy. He's at Falcon Ridge Base now, waiting for clearance. Dad asked him to fly home for the gala tonight since he's the guest of honor. Oh, and Ellen's treating him differently now. Still acts like she doesn't like him, but we all see it. She's totally into him. She doesn't date anyone else, and they spend hours on the phone when he's away. Theo is so into her. And you're not going to believe this part, but Theo wants to finish language school, go to college, get a degree, and apply to become an officer. I grinned, shaking my head. Can you imagine? Theo, the guy who used to crash on friends' couches and party every weekend, now dreaming of being a military officer. For people who knew him before, it sounds like pure fiction. But I guess love does weird things to people, huh, Mom? Just then, this deep voice started belting out reached the horizon from down the hall. I jumped up from the bed, laughing. Mom, you have got to hear this, I said, holding the phone out toward the hallway. In the background, you could hear Lila and the other girls howling and giggling. Then Cam shouted, he's singing my favorite song. Don't quit your day job. I teased, half laughing into the phone. Dad, take your act on tour. The bus leaves in 10. Dad's voice bellowed back in mock drama, girls. You're eliminating me. No respect in this house. You're all off my Christmas list. Everyone erupted in laughter, and we shouted back, we love you, Daddy. He huffed, fine, you're back on. Still giggling, I returned to the call. Dad's such a goof. He sings when he's nervous or just super happy. We always encourage him. It's like a little family tradition at this point. On the other end, Mom went quiet. Like, really quiet. I could feel it through the phone. I think part of her had wanted to believe we were struggling without her. But clearly, we weren't. We were doing just fine. Thriving, even. So I just kept going. Dad doesn't know he's the guest of honor tonight. He's already jittery, though. He and Russ Kendall are gonna play a couple songs with the band. You know how Dad loves his blues guitar. Ever since he and Russ became buddies, they've been jamming almost weekly, just two old guys with guitars and beers, joking about becoming the next rock legends. They're honestly good, Mom. But they only play for fun. Tonight's their first time playing in front of a crowd. Just imagine Dad in a tux, up on stage, shredding the blues. It's gonna be a blast. That really hit her. I could hear her trying to make sense of it all. Wait, hold on, she said, clearly stunned. Did you just say your father is friends with Russell Kendall? Like, the Kendall? I grinned, knowing exactly why she was shocked. She used to idolize the Kendalls. In her eyes, they were high society, the kind of people she dreamed of rubbing elbows with. Yep, I said casually. Same guy. Though his friends just call him Russ. That's how he insists we address him. They met because Dad wrote a couple of articles after you left, stuff about surviving heartbreak, rebuilding your life after betrayal, you know, all that. A couple of small magazines picked them up and published them, and Dad was beyond thrilled. Apparently Russ read one of the pieces and liked it. He reached out to Dad and invited him to give a talk at a company event. Dad nearly passed out when he got that call. But he prepped like crazy, gave the speech, and the employees loved it. So Russ had him back for the big annual shareholders meeting. That was a huge deal. After that, word spread. Other companies started asking Dad to speak, thanks to Russ's recommendations. He started writing more, getting published in bigger and fancier magazines. Eventually, he quit his old job. Now he writes and speaks full-time. Yeah, so Russ just kept introducing Dad to all these influential people, I told her. The more they hung out, the more they realized they shared a love for blues and rock guitar. That kind of sealed the deal. Ever since then, they've been tight. I paused to let Mom take it all in. I mean, this was a lot, Dad, the man she'd left in the dust, now a published writer, speaking at corporate events, jamming with Russ Kendall. She finally said, wait, your father? A writer? You mean, like, an actual published author? In magazines? Her voice cracked with disbelief. Yeah, it was hitting her hard. The same man she once brushed off as a nobody had completely turned things around. I could tell she was secretly hoping it didn't pay all that well. Figures. Downstairs, I started hearing voices. People were arriving. The sound of chatter and soft laughter floated up the stairs. I heard a new, deep male voice, then another, quieter one. Camille stepped out of Lila's room and headed down to welcome the guests, probably already slipping into full hostess mode. That's when it hit me. I'd forgotten something important. Hey, Mom, I've got to get going soon, I said. Russ and Tessa Kendall just showed up, and the photographers are here too. They're doing that big fancy spread for the gossip column and the charity photo album they sell every year. It's all about capturing these so-called enchanted moments at the summer gala. Honestly, the whole thing is so over the top it makes me want to gag. But apparently, the album raises a ton of money for charity, so I guess that gives everyone a warm, fuzzy excuse to feel like royalty for the night, I snorted. My sarcasm must have been obvious, because Mom immediately jumped in to defend it all. Oh, Ivy, don't look down on it. It's a huge honor to be part of that photo album. This is the kind of thing people talk about for years. You and Lila should be proud, you're guest of honor at a prestigious event. And since you'll be at the main table, your pictures will be on almost every page. I've bought one of those albums almost every year, secretly, and this time. I'll be showing it off. I'll point to your photos and say, those are my kids. I'll probably order multiple copies. I blinked. Okay, Mom, I said, distracted as I adjusted my dress in the mirror. Then I remembered something. Oh, I almost forgot. Dad's got a writing conference in Crestfield over Labor Day weekend. He's planning to go, and Lila, Camille, Ellen, and I are tagging along. Maybe we could meet up. I'd like that. I'm sure I could convince Lila too, even though she's still pretty angry. I hesitated, then added, maybe we could bring Camille, too, so you could meet her. And, maybe you'd like to see Dad, you know, just in case. Oh, sweetheart, that sounds wonderful, Mom said quickly. Let's figure something out. I really want to see you and Lila. But your father and his girlfriend? I don't know if that's such a good idea. There's still a lot of pain there. I'd rather you met Glenn. After all, she added, like it was a grand revelation, he's your stepfather now. I made a face, sticking out my tongue. You, Mom. Please. I still have nightmares about you and Glenny cuddling on the couch. Bleck. If I have to meet you, then Dad and Camille are coming too. Fair's fair. She clearly didn't love that idea, but I guess she knew pushing back too hard would blow the whole thing up. All right, she said carefully. We'll see how things play out, Ivy. But let's stay focused on what matters. We're finally reconnecting. That's what's important. I can't wait to hug you and Lila again. Coincidentally, she added, slipping into excited mode, the Empire Authors Forum is hosting its Readers and Writers Day that same weekend. Glenn is pulling strings to get us tickets. I'll make sure he gets some for you, too. Her voice lit up as she continued. It's going to be quite the event. Famous authors, book signings, fan meet and greets. Maybe you'll even snag a selfie with someone big. You should see how excited Glenn is. He's dying to meet Nathan Dorr. He says his debut novel is incredible. Just brilliant. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, Mom. I've heard of Nathan Dorr. Actually, I've met him a few times, I said casually. And I agree, his work's amazing. I read his book a while ago and found it pretty deep. Definitely thought-provoking. That caught Mom off guard. She hesitated. Well, no, she finally admitted. I haven't read it myself. Not really my kind of reading. But Glenn, oh, he's obsessed. Big fan. I bit my tongue to keep from saying something about the book having too few pictures for her taste. Instead, I smiled and asked, Hey, Mom, do you have a copy of the book nearby? Hardcover or paperback? She glanced around, then said, Yeah, the hardcover's right here on Glenn's desk. Perfect. Do me a favor, flip to the inside of the back dust jacket and tell me what you see. There was a pause, then a gasp. Oh no, she breathed. Oh my God, that's Calvin. That's your father. I took this photo years ago, 7 years back. But, wait, how? This can't be real. Nathan Dorr is your father? Are you messing with me? I lost it. I was doubled over laughing so hard I nearly dropped the phone. Nope. Not joking, Mom. Nathan Dorr is actually Calvin J. Rhodes. Dad used a pen name when he started writing so he could keep things separate. I was practically wheezing at this point, wiping away tears. So yeah, your new husband's favorite author? That's your ex-husband. Our dad. I can't. I just can't. This is too good. Somebody needs to make a movie out of this. Mom didn't say anything for a beat. Then, very quietly, she muttered, Oh no. Still cracking up, I said, Okay, I really gotta go, Mom. I'll text you my email, and you can send me yours. We'll figure out our plans for Labor Day weekend. I'm glad you called. I really am. And I do want to see you again. I love you, Mom. And seriously, this is the funniest thing I've ever lived through. On the other end, I heard her try to pull it together. Her voice was hoarse, but steady. Tell your brother and sister I said hi. Give them my number, if they feel like calling. I love you too, Ivy. I ended the call and headed downstairs, still giggling to myself. As I passed the big hallway mirror, I caught my reflection, hair flawless, gown perfect, confidence glowing. Tonight, I'd have no problem flashing my brightest smile for the cameras. But I'd be the only one who knew why I was really in such a good mood. Meanwhile, back at Mom's place, she just sat there staring at that book, Dad's book. Her face had that look like she'd just run a marathon in heels. She barely had time to catch her breath before Glenn waltzed in, practically glowing. Marion, you won't believe this, he said, practically bouncing. I got a personal note from Nathan Dorr. He was waving a card in the air, beaming like a little kid. I wrote him about how much I loved his book, told him I couldn't wait to meet him in September. And get this, he wrote back, by hand. He cleared his throat and started reading, with way too much flair. Dear Glenn, you have no idea how glad I am that you read and enjoyed my first novel. Whether you realize it or not, you played a key role in encouraging me during a turning point in my life. I can't wait to thank you in person. You helped reignite something in me, something I'd thought I'd lost, and I'll always be grateful for that. Warm regards, Nathan Dorr. Glenn was practically buzzing with excitement. Can you believe it? I must have met him somewhere before. The picture looked familiar. I just can't place it yet. And now, oh man, I can't wait to meet him. Maybe we'll even become friends. He kept talking, and talking, and talking. Meanwhile, Mom sat there, sinking deeper and deeper into the couch like she wanted it to swallow her whole. With every word out of Glenn's mouth, her mood dropped another floor. Finally, in this dry, lifeless voice, like all the energy had drained from her body, she croaked. Enough, Glenn. Just enough.